So we're sitting there and she starts laughing a little bit. And I'm like, don't laugh. This is, we're not home yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
And she goes, it's kind of an adventure though, right?
Yeah.
I was like, this is not an adventure. And, you know.
What a line. Welcome back to Oops the Podcast.
All right, lots to unpack here.
I got something for you.
Please.
Julio, I don't know where you came up with that idea.
Dude, this guy was a huge turkey.
What is this, Japan?
Which is
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I hadn't told you about it.
No, and I also just assumed you were saving it for the pod if you were going to tell me,
Yeah.
which of course you were.
Oh,
But-
yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is Oops the Podcast. I'm Francis. That's Julio.
That's him.
Not of the Taliban.
Not of the Taliban. Also not of the Julio.
Rubber band Fran, wild like the Taliban. 9 in my right, 45 in my other hand.
This is from a T.I. song?
Yeah, I think so.
Rubber Band Man.
Well, here we are. Julio's Taliban story has made quite a splash. He's now on
Has
the
it?
Yeah, you're on the no-fly list. It was seen as commiserating with the enemy.
Has it made a splash? We've gotten a lot of good feedback about it, which has been cool.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure if there was things that I didn't know about, and apparently that is one of them. So I look forward to
Pretty sick.
boarding my flight in 2 days.
Pretty sick that you can't fly given our current gentleman's contest. Speaking
It's
of,
heating up.
added 2 flights, but you,
Unfortunately, I had to go to a funeral. Very sad, but silver lining was that I was able to keep pace and keep up with old Fran.
yeah, by the way, the way he texted me that, I don't think he was sad.
I was very sad.
I know.
was very sad.
I know.
Let the record show. I was very, very
He
sad.
did add 2 flights, so he kept pace because I had my 2 flights.
What are you at right now?
I think 45, but I got to go back. I'm only able to look by going back into my calendar.
I'm at 40, for sure.
Okay.
So, but you should start making a list.
It's a
dude.
minimum of 45.
Okay.
And if it's more, it's not much more.
Okay.
But
It's going to be close.
it's going to be, you're going to definitely overtake me.
I have 8 flights right
Yeah,
now
see.
on the books, but you're going to be flying more this year.
I don't think so.
At all, bro. You're going to go somewhere. Whether it's a vacation, do you have weddings to go to?
No.
Nothing.
If you're new to the pod, Julio and I have a year-long sort of gentleman's agreement or contest, a friendly contest to see who will take more flights in the year. And we're both, I had leaped ahead of him as a result of the 14 legs that I took on our honeymoon, which included, of course, 2 helicopter rides.
Counts.
Yeah. But he didn't give me the hot air balloon.
Hot air balloon, he doesn't get.
Did not count. And so
You need to have a destination. You
Yes.
can't just be like circling and landing. You need to be going somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So here we are. We're getting closer and we've only got a couple months left, but Julia has a lot more flights booked than I do.
So what,
And-
is the loser just buying dinner at this point? Like, what is it going to be?
Well, I guess
We haven't decided the
we haven't
stakes.
decided that. Honestly, there's so much pride in it at this point that it is one of those rare bets where I'm not even sure we need.
Okay.
But we could. Well, you know what we could do is we could get some sort of like those kids captain wings that you'd get when you used to be able as a kid to walk into the cockpit.
Yeah.
The pilot would stand up and be like, "Here, why don't you sit down?
Sit down.
Grab
there,
a hold of
champ."
the steering wheel."
Oh.
And you'd be like, he'd put his hat on you.
Yeah, dude, aviation is a clear example of something that used to be more chill. Because usually, like, things progress and get better, but the process of flying, like, there used to be no security. You used to be able to smoke cigs on the plane.
Yeah.
Dude, flying used to be lit.
It was. No pun intended.
You know? Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Well, I used to go up and do that as a little boy, and then I would ask if they had the pilot's wings.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know about that?
The pin?
The pin.
I do know about that.
And they
yeah.
put it on your shirt, and you
Mhm.
actually felt like you were a pilot.
It was super sick.
Those were the good old days.
But I will, for the listeners, if we intend to continue talking about this, we should probably think of some sort of thing that the winner gets.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Well, we should come up with a golden airplane trophy. We should go to a trophy store
have a trophy
and
made.
have a little golden airplane idol
That's
put at
nice.
the top of it.
That's quite nice.
And then whoever wins will have their name engraved on the first annual airplane cup.
Do you know what I'm thinking about? Like, imagine one year one of us like gets injured or something and can't fly, and the winner that year sort of like accepts the trophy, but they're not as excited as they would have.
Major
like,
asterisk. Major asterisk.
Like a tennis match where the other guy, like in the final, the other guy gets injured. You're
Yeah.
like not allowed to enjoy the victory as much in the moment.
Yeah.
It's a bitch, dude.
Hate to see it.
But it's
Hate
part of
to
it,
see
man.
that.
That's part of the part of competition.
It is.
being fit enough to compete.
Not only that, but then you could just say that the previous match was the final.
Yeah,
You
listen,
still
dude,
had to get there.
That's part of it. To be able to play best of 5, win 7 matches, like
Yeah.
that is, requires preparation, as does being fit to fly.
Nadal made it to the semifinals of
Yeah.
Wimbledon.
Had to pull out.
Had to pull out against
Kyrgios.
But it was like, Kyrgios played immaculate tennis up to that point. I thought he deserved to be in the
He
final.
probably would have beat him anyway, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So lots to discuss on today's episode. Let's start with this. I went to Palm Springs for a wedding.
Oh, yeah, how was it? You had a
Uh,
good little stint.
I'd never been there before.
It's sick, right?
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's hot.
yeah.
I had not bargained for how hot it is there. It's truly the desert.
Yeah, and it's, I guess in the winter it gets a little cooler.
Yeah, this is probably just getting
Right.
into their
Cooler
peak season,
weather.
but the summer there, people
Hot
don't
as fuck.
go.
Yeah.
Do not go because it's uninhabitable.
Yeah.
And so we went and we flew into Ontario, California. We found flights.
The most random thing ever. I've never heard of someone doing that.
It's an hour and 20 minutes from where we were. It went to the Indian Wells.
Mhm.
It's an hour and 20 minutes from there. We had the option to fly into LA or into Palm Springs, which would have required a connection, which would have helped with the flights.
There's only one direct to Palm Springs, I think, from New York.
And it's not happening yet because this is still the off season. It starts
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
in a month or
That's
so.
crazy.
So
It's
we
a
couldn't
JetBlue
take
flight,
that.
yeah.
So we flew JetBlue to Ontario. And dude, when I say, okay, so the round trip flights to LA,
Where the fuck is that? I need to look this up.
I'm not sure.
Sorry. Okay.
Hour and 20 minutes away. The round trip flights to LA from New York were like $700, $800. Yeah.
What?
Our flights, bro, $150 round trip
What? To a random, bro, what is happening?
across the country.
How?
My
That's
only guess is that
crazy.
it was because it's the off season.
That is crazy.
So we flew JetBlue on Wednesday night to Ontario. Long flight,
yeah.
Not that we would have done it anyway, but there was no like better seats. So we just
Yeah.
flew. We got the emergency exit, which was nice.
Huh? Okay.
It was a long flight. My back starts to bark a little.
It's
Lower
a long
back.
flight. It's a
Yeah.
long-
We land. We get in an Uber. We go to our hotel. We get in at about 1 a.m. That's 4 a.m. our time.
So you're just fucking shattered.
You know me. Not going to handle that well.
Shatter City.
On a Wednesday night, middle of the week.
Yeah.
Okay, 4 a.m. bedtime.
Not good.
I'm not a night rat. I'm not a club rat. I'm not doing bottle service at Avenue on Tuesday to prep for my 4 a.m. Wednesday. So, okay. Wedding was lovely. This couple is awesome. Truly, truly two of the most beautiful people I've ever seen. Super athletes, just awesome, awesome people. Everyone loves them. In fact, I will say that experiencing this wedding, this is the first wedding we've been to since our wedding, and hearing the speeches about this couple, specifically about what was said about the guy, made me realize just how much more people like him than do like me. The kind words that were said about this guy, comparing them to what was said about me at my wedding, made me realize that I need to work harder on my friendships, because there was a major gulf in the effusiveness with how people described him versus how people described me. You were very kind, but everyone else was like, well, what can I say about Francis that hasn't been said about, Idi Amin, or like some insert, horrible dictator here. So that was a little bit of an eye-opening experience and definitely a bummer for me, but certainly humbling. And then we had a great time, awesome time. One of the most exciting moments was the guy like dabbles in DJing a little bit,
Ah.
and they had this for the after party. they had a DJ who was gonna like play music, and he played a couple songs, and then like the big surprise was that the groom was gonna get behind the table. And dude, I'm telling you, as soon as he got back there and started his first song, the party began. And then the poor DJ, I looked over and he was just sitting in a chair, like off in the, just looking
Like
so
texting?
sad.
Hilarious.
Like you could just be, it was like any idea that he'd had in his head that like maybe it's them. Maybe they're just a little tired. Maybe they're low energy. That's why they're not responding to my music choices. Nope. It was 100% him. And we all went bonkers, just jumping around, having the time of our life. The groom was awesome. Great wedding. So much love. Beautiful place. Okay.
So wait, was the DJ thing? I want to ask about this. So the DJ had been hired to do the whole night, but they're like, you know, the groom may get up there.
Yeah, he was supposed to play a couple songs, the groom.
So that's great.
And then
for
everyone
the
was
DJ.
having so much fun. Well, I think he stayed the whole time because it was his gear. So the
Oh.
groom spun for like 2.5 hours while that DJ just, sat around.
Bro, that's a W, man. I would take the sit around gig all day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I get there, they're like, you're supposed to perform for 4 hours, and instead I end up performing for 12 minutes and get to fucking dick around on my phone.
Yeah, maybe so. The one thing that you could get, guess what their like late night snack food was?
What was it?
They brought out big trays of In-N-Out burgers.
Oh, that's great.
Which I'd never had one
Oh,
before.
they're so good.
It's pretty damn good.
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was a treat. So, okay. We wake up the next day. We have the whole day. Now it's Saturday because it was a Friday wedding.
Okay.
So it's Saturday and we're at the hotel, the resort. The idea is that there's going to be sort of a pool, chill, but fun day drinking kind of day.
Where was it?
The Hyatt Indian Wells.
Okay.
And so we go to the pool, around noon. We have an 11:30 p.m. red-eye flight home. Okay?
The worst.
The
worst.
Looming over us.
Also
Again,
JetBlue?
JetBlue, exit row at best, no recline, nothing happening for your boy.
Dude.
Just the sort of blue-collar image that I might put out into the world should I ever decide to run for office.
Wait, what? What do you mean?
Like to remind the people, hey.
Oh, I've once flew JetBlue.
And,
Just like you.
Because we talk about the Q suites on fucking Qatar Airways, and it's like, well, here's a red eye on a Saturday night home on JetBlue. And by the way, again, you wonder why the flights are $150. I'll tell you why. But I'm not going to get there yet because a lot happens between us waking up and the flight.
Quick question. Do they have like the mint on these flights?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And I'm not even saying that we would have done that because the flights were so cheap that
100%.
that was why we opted for this.
Dude, that's the W. The W's getting the cheap flight. Doesn't matter how you sit there fucking uncomfortably for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Saving tons of money is the best.
100%. So, okay. We spend the day at the pool. We're throwing them back. They have these frozen margaritas, and I'm asking her to add a floater of tequila, añejo, to each one.
Oh, God.
So it's probably like a 2.5 shot drink.
Francis can really get in there during the day.
Yeah, I like it.
He's open to for a 10:30 a.m. start with no sporting event involved.
Take the governor off. We're close.
Pull out the credit card. Be careful. All retail shops.
Open the
Here
tab.
he comes.
All bets are off. We're lighting ourselves on fire today.
We're buying jackets and we're drinking.
We're buying jackets. Uh-oh, keep me away from the jackets.
Here we go.
Francis is on a jacket binge. So, I'm throwing them back. These things are going down like Capri Suns. I mean, they're going down like paper cups of water at a tennis camp.
A little cone.
Just a
cup.
little cone cup of water at a summer tennis camp. In between the courts. All right, water break. That's how, you drink 6 of them.
Yeah.
They're going down like water cups at tennis camp. And I was like, after the second one, I was like, how is it possible that I just drank that as quickly as I did? Because it's frozen. So you would think
Brain freeze.
but there were, for some reason, they were hitting the gullet in the right spot.
You were just
I
ripping.
was throwing them back like a fucking pelican. So, okay. Meanwhile, I'm sort of just mingling with, I don't really know that many people, but I've gotten to know some of the people, and the groom played basketball in college, so a bunch of his basketball teammates are there, so I'm chumming it up.
Where?
Lafayette.
Okay.
Yeah, good player.
Pennsylvania?
Dude, now he plays in the fucking Drew League.
What's that?
It's like as close, it's one step below the G League.
That's crazy. Lafayette's Division 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah. I mean, he's
a good dude, bro. I like
really
that guy.
great dude. Awesome dude. Great couple. A situation where, again, not a wedding where I knew really anyone other than the couple. But I like them so much that it made it fun.
They're super cool, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not keeping any sort of an eye on Sierra. Not that I need to, but I just don't really know what she's up to. And as it turns out, she was throwing him back. She was really throwing him back. And I mean, there was just this at one point, I think I'd had 3 or 4 of the frozen margaritas, and I said, I need to slow down. I need to take a break. And I just took a 2-hour break from drinking and read my book by the pool.
Sick.
Which was actually great.
Nice.
And by the way, I'm reading a really interesting book, ironically, called Drunk. And it's about the effect of alcohol on like furthering civilization and how inebriation and intoxication have binded societies, and
Cool.
why we as humans have actually leaned on alcohol in spite of its clearly negative effects in many ways
Yeah.
to go forward as a civilization, and especially with regard to like how so many ancient tribes wouldn't start their peace talks or their like elder meetings until everyone was fucked up.
And you said in China too, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's throughout history, this has just been the case. Like, peyote rituals.
Mhm.
It doesn't just have to be booze. It's like any kind of, weed's been around forever. So anyway,
Interesting.
really interesting book.
Cool.
Eric Slingerland, I think is the author's name. Really enjoying it. Edward Slingerland. Wow. Quick facts with Ryan. Just right in the
Ready to
middle.
rip.
Appreciate that.
Ripping.
Highly recommend the book. Okay, so I took a break, read like 30, 40 pages of my book, whatever, and then came out of it and was like, all right, I can have another drink or two. Like I've done good work here.
How much time did you take?
Probably an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you've just sort of like
I had
come
stopped
down a step.
drinking and I didn't think I was going to have any more. And then 2 hours went by and I was like, I'll have another drink.
Okay.
And I also think at that point I saw Sierra and was like, oh, she hasn't stopped.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of want to rejoin the fun a little bit and be closer to her level.
Yeah.
So I went back and got another frozen margarita, and then I had another one after that. So I got to about 6
Okay.
in the day.
Okay.
But over a long period
And
of
it's
time.
hot and dry
Yeah.
and
I had 6 with
significant.
floaters.
That's significant. So
No
that's
joke.
like 10.
Yeah, probably 10. But over like 7
Floaters.
hours,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm definitely drunk, but I'm not like whatever. And by the way, she has given me permission to tell this story
I could tell
on the
I could tell.
podcast.
Okay.
She's given me permission. Now it's like 7:30 or 8. And I've done the math in my head. We have an 11:35 flight. We need to get to the airport at 10:30. It's an hour and 20 minutes away. So we need to leave at like 9 at the latest. But I also think we probably need to stop for some food somehow on the way. And I haven't
Right.
figured out how we're going to do that. So around 8 o'clock, I start saying, we need to figure out how we're getting out of here for our red eye. Right?
I hate
And we're a
that.
long way from the airport. Not only are we a long way from the airport, like we're in bathing suits. We don't have our room anymore, right?
Your stuff's like behind the counter.
Our stuff is like at the pool.
Yeah.
Our luggage. And so we're just in this like purgatory
Oh God, dude.
with no home, no base. So I'm like, okay, I am now turning into, I guess what you would call like fight and flight mode.
Yeah, that was very good.
Because I realize things matter now. The stakes have gotten high because I know that if we were to miss our flight and just say like fuck it, we'll figure it out tomorrow, that hotel is going to cost an insane amount to get another night because we'd gotten room block rates and those are no longer eligible. Plus, to figure out the flight the next day would mean we'd go to LA. We'd be paying insane amount of money. It would
suck, yeah.
So
plus, you'd be like Monday would have really fucking sucked.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
You want to get out of there.
So I get Sierra. I bring her to the bride and groom's room. They still had theirs. And I'm like, hey, we need to get dressed for our flight. What do you want to wear? And she's like, I don't know. It doesn't even matter. Like, what is this anyway? That kind of, like, just saying total and utter nonsense, thinks that I'm being...
Right. You're being lame.
Like a lame parent. And frankly, I was parenting.
Mm-hmm.
I had to be a parent because I literally had to dress her. And initially, she pulled out like a pair of tights. I had to put those on, like left foot up now, right foot up now, lean on me. And I put the tights on, and then she like was in her leggings or whatever and was like, this doesn't feel right. I don't feel comfortable. So I'm like, okay. So the tights came off, and then I had to put, I put her in this like dress with a sweater and then had these like hiking boots on her. Her outfit was preposterous. And then when we brought her back out to the pool to say goodbye to everyone was laughing. She thought it was the funniest thing ever. She was like, you've dressed me like an old Amish woman. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. So I finally get all of our stuff to the best of my ability. I call an Uber. We get into the Uber, and I asked the guy, I'm like, hey, listen, is there any chance that we could stop at like a Chipotle on the way? We need to eat something. I'll pay you $100 to wait.
This is the most classic Francis story. Somehow like a nuanced situation with an Uber driver driving a long distance.
Yeah.
Getting him to do other shit.
And keep in mind, we're not in a city. So this is an Uber driver who, is just a guy.
Yeah.
He's just some guy who's like doing this a couple nights a week.
Yeah.
And is not prepared for whatever insane curveballs Uber drivers who are super fucked up might throw at him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, yeah, listen, I'll pay you $100 if you can wait while we stop. And I just started there. I didn't want to negotiate.
Wow, yeah,
I didn't want to haggle with him. I was like, this is the number I'll give you if you can pull us into a Chipotle and wait for 20 minutes while we eat. He's like, yeah, we'll figure that out. 20 minutes later, I'm looking over at Sierra. I've got a couple bottles of water I bought at the gift shop. I'm like trying to give her some water, and her face starts turning green.
Oh, God.
I'm like, all right, I know where this is going. And if she throws up in this Uber, he's going to kick us out. We'll get hit with an insane cleaning fee. Plus, we'll be on the side of the fucking highway and have to figure out with all of our luggage,
desert, in the dark,
like not only where are we going, but how are we going to get food? So miraculously, we see the lights of a Chipotle. We've gone about 20 minutes.
No way.
We pull in, right? I'm like, because I had said, let's go to one. He's like, there's one close to the airport. I'm like, all right. But then I was like, let's go to that one.
Okay.
So we pull in, right? We walk in. We're waiting in line for a second. I say to Sierra, how are you feeling? She goes, not good. And I was like, do you need to use the bathroom? She goes, yeah. I go, do you need to throw up? She goes, I think so. We walk over to the bathroom. A woman is cleaning it. Right? Mm-hmm. So there's one of those big yellow sort of stands that says like caution, floor is wet.
Mojado.
Yeah. And the woman's in there with a mop, and I look at her and she looks at me, and I just go, we need this. No questions asked. She like vacates, kicks the stand out, door closes, I lock it. I go over, I hold Sierra's hair while she throws up in the toilet.
Wow.
Now,
did you say get it all out, baby?
I did. I'm like, keep going.
Baby.
I'm keep going, get the evil out of you. I'm being really encouraging.
Yeah.
I've got her hair in one hand. I'm reaching over to the sink, pulling paper towels out, wetting them, and handing them to her so she can wipe her mouth and stuff. She gets it all out. We clean up, whatever. Everything's fine. We get back. We walk out, and you could see her instantly start to get better.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it was so clear, like, my God, alcohol is poison. It's poison.
Yeah.
As fun as it is, like, she needed to get that poison out of her body.
Yeah.
Now, she sort of starts coming to. And we get up to the front of the line, and she's like, I'm like, you should get a
Chipotle?
burrito bowl.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we need to eat.
Yeah.
And she like orders she's like walking down, gets to the cheese area, and she's like, more cheese, more cheese. Keep going. To the point where you can't see any of the other food underneath.
Yeah.
Right? And now I look at this burrito bowl she's ordered, and I'm like, well, there's no way she's going to eat all of that. I'm not super hungry. Why don't we just split it? So we sit down together, and we're eating through this, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I don't want this much cheese. Like, it's just too much fucking cheese.
Too much cheese.
So we're sitting there, and she starts laughing a little bit, and I'm like, don't laugh. This is we're not home yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
And she goes, it's kind of an adventure, though, right?
Yeah.
I was like, this is not an adventure. And
What a line.
we finally get back in the car. Guy's waiting for us. We drive the rest of the remaining hour to the airport. He drops us off at the wrong terminal somehow. I think I had put the wrong terminal in. And we're like, all right, whatever. Now we're getting.
How are there multiple terminals in what the fuck?
Agreed.
What is this airport, dude?
Agreed.
This secret airport.
So we go to Terminal 4 at Ontario. We go inside. Can't figure it out. I ask someone, like, where's Terminal 2? And he's like, well, it's half a mile that way.
Oh, God.
Or you can get on the airport shuttle, but that's going to take 10 minutes. And I'm like, we don't have time to wait for a shuttle. So we just start walking. And we're walking through the dark, along this weird sort of sidewalk with the airport on our left. Big jets coming in, the lights.
It's crazy, dude.
It's eerie. But again, now it is starting to
This
feel
is
like
an adventure, bro. Yeah, this is an
And
adventure.
she's like, I got to go to the bathroom. So I have to pee so badly. And I'm like, well, just go somewhere. And she's like, we're on the airport. Like, I can't go anywhere. We'll get arrested. I'm like, all right. We make it to the terminal. We get on our flight, and this is when I say that, this is where I learned why the flight was $150. It's a Saturday night red eye. That's not a flight that a lot of people are taking.
True.
And yet it was packed. There was a girl, I'm talking 12 years old, one row in front of us, who was FaceTiming her best childhood friend, who was in bed, like with her feet up and her head in her, her chin in her hands. They're just talking about like boys they like, but she doesn't have headphones in.
Oh, God.
So she's having this loud FaceTime conversation while she's on the tarmac, being like, Charlie said this about her. I don't even know what that means. Like, blah, blah, blah. Can you believe that? And then the other girl would talk. And so Sierra and I start like laughing to each other about that. There's a guy behind me playing, I think, Call of Duty on his like Nintendo DS or whatever with the full volume of the, like right in my ear. And I'm like, oh, this is why this flight is $150.
Dude, there's no way they could have predicted what sort of riffraff would be on the flight.
They know the type of people.
The Call of Duty guy and the FaceTime girl booked it.
That's it.
Damn it.
That's who's buying those
going
tickets.
down.
And those people just they don't have.
But didn't you have a good seat?
We had an
theory?
emergency exit.
Okay.
It was fine.
Yeah.
Not great. It's fine. Whatever. We get up into the air. I had brought a neck pillow. I brought a mask. I didn't have any kind of drugs, which frankly was for the best. It's only 4.5 hours.
It's not long enough, yeah.
And so I just like.
That's what's so shitty about that flight.
Yeah.
Is how short it is.
You can't sleep.
You can't sleep. And you get in at 7 a.m. You're just all fucked up.
Yeah. So I tried to sleep, couldn't, and then just watched, fucking Hard Knocks on my phone until we landed, got in an Uber, made it home in the shortest amount of time I've ever had from JFK and passed out until noon. Now, this experience with Sierra was one of the most bonding experiences that we've had.
Yeah, sounds fun, man.
Later that afternoon on Sunday, when we finally had our wits about us, she said, that's the first time since we got married where I've really felt like you were my husband.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Because,
That's crazy.
because honestly, typically in situations where one of us is more fucked up than the other, it can sometimes lead to a little bit of a disagreement.
Totally.
That
is very normal.
My instincts initially were like, oh man, why did you get so drunk?
Mm-hmm.
Now I have to basically carry you and your belongings to the airport to take a red eye. We're so far from home.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you do this when we're in Manhattan.
Greenpoint.
Yeah, we got to take an Uber home, whatever. But like
Yeah.
we have to get across the country
Yeah.
to get home, and you're not going to be part of it. You're not. She's not part of it.
Dude, yeah, it's like in GoldenEye in the video game where there's a level where you need to protect Natalia.
Yeah.
And like it would be an easy level if you didn't have to protect Natalia.
Exactly.
So it's that.
There is. I'm not joking when I say that. If she had been like, I just need you to give me a piggyback for any moment that we're not in a car, it wouldn't have added that much more difficulty.
Totally.
Or if I had to carry all of her bags, like, effectively what I did. There was a moment where
it is an adventure though, dude.
Yeah.
This is an adventure.
we had walked between the terminals, the fucking half mile, and it's such a long walk in the dark. But you get to the next terminal, you see it getting closer and closer, the lights looming, and finally we got to the curb. And I'd been rolling our 2 suitcases, and she just had a little like handbag or something. And we got to the curb, and there was like, if you walked 10 feet to the left, there was a break in the curb with a little up ramp. But I just decided no. And I fully, I gorilla raised, fireman carried both up onto the curb. And in that moment, I was like, I'm a hero.
What was the sound again? Ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just strongmanned him up. And I was like, yeah, I'm a hero in this moment. I've never felt more like a dad hero.
Yeah.
And
That's sick.
yeah, man. I mean, like, it was this moment of like, wow, the fact that I didn't give her any shit and just said, you know what?
Yeah.
We're gonna get through this together. I'm gonna help her, and I don't need to reprimand her. Meant that when she kind of got back to us. In the world, she was very grateful to me and had her own shame that would be enough of a punishment. She was like,
loved you way more. And
yeah, she was like, I'm so embarrassed.
She learned her lesson.
She thought she had like caused problems with the wedding.
Dude, she woke up in her dress, her sweatshirt, and her Viking helmet.
Yeah.
That was enough. That was enough shame, dude. What am I wearing?
Yeah. And dude, it was just a great night that somehow brought us a lot closer. And also, I know that I have one. It's a credit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I have
you want to go home
a
early?
night in the bag where like, yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
well, for most people, be like, well, then I deserve a night to get super fucked up and have you take care of me. And for me, it's like, okay, we have a night where we deserve to not do the things that we're planning to do and go out and see people. And I can just be like, full veto, we're staying in
pajamas
and not doing anything.
100%.
Yeah.
Dude, my favorite part is the fucking Chipotle that we were certain was a mirage that appeared in the middle of the desert. Saved your guys' ass.
The
dude.
one thing that's, the one thing that's great is that there are Chipotles just everywhere.
California's great
Yeah.
when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Everything is everywhere.
Yeah.
It is crazy how California is the 7th biggest world economy.
Is that right?
When compared to the nations of the world.
Wow.
That
What?
to give you an idea of the density and like it's the land of 4-lane side roads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll be driving around Irvine and it's like if you miss that left, that's like a fucking 40-minute detour now.
Oh God.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was getting home from that, I felt like we had really accomplished something.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
As I've said before, that when we were like landing, nobody on that plane was talking. Everyone was silent because it felt a little bit like the rescue plane that transports the prisoners of war home.
Like the
everyone's so happy.
It's a giant plane.
Everyone's so happy to be going home, but the ordeal was so traumatic that nobody can talk. That's sort of was where my head was at.
Yeah, as like durable of a traveler as I've become, like I still can't do the like red eye from LA.
It's hell.
It's fucking hell.
There's
Dude,
no way around it.
Guys, we're super psyched about our new company that we're working with, Muggsy Jeans.
Oh my God, the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn, and you can hold me to that.
Dude, I have big hips for a man, and guess what? Jeans will fit me, but they don't because now I have little ears.
Little ears.
I have pant ears. This thing will happen
Hate the ears.
where now I have these little ears and it's just silly looking. And Hillary will be like, honey, those pants don't fit. And I'm like, yes, they do.
Right.
Because if I were to go a size up, they'd be too baggy. Nobody wins. With Muggsy, that does not happen.
Yeah.
They are designed to fit you very comfortably. They're stretchy. They're awesome.
They're super comfortable. They're made by dudes for dudes. We all know that dudes don't all have the same body shape. Look at Julio.
That's right.
You know, look at him.
Yeah.
I don't have the same hips that he does.
Yeah. My hips don't lie, baby.
I don't get the ears. If anything, my ass is so small that I'm embarrassed on the other side of it.
Little tushy boy.
So I need, I need something to, you know, make sure that it's nice and tight, but not so tight that it's uncomfortable. And the stretchiness of Muggsy jeans provides exactly that. I got some of the thermo jeans too. I got the Clarks. They've got a little flannel liner in there. Keeps you nice and toasty. I wore them when I city biked to work today. It's getting a little nippier.
Oh, yeah.
I was perfect.
That's my boy. They're the most comfortable and stylish men's jeans on the planet Earth because they're designed by dudes, for dudes, never too baggy.
Never too tight.
Never too tight, Francis. Treat yourself for once and head over to Muggsy.com using code OOPS for 10% off and free shipping on the most comfortable jeans we have ever worn.
Treat yourself.
That's Muggsy.com, code OOPS for 10% off your entire order with free shipping and free returns if you don't love them. Go experience life-changing comfort with
Muggsy jeans.
Even with by the way, I got JetBlue status somehow.
What?
I am now Mosaic in JetBlue.
What?
Not even my primary airline. I never fly it. I think what it is, dude, is I took so many Emirates flights this year, and I always plug in my JetBlue number, obviously, partner number. My goal is to never have to pay for flights in the United States. So on any international flight, every single airline is partners with either United, JetBlue, or Delta. Every single airline basically on the planet besides very random ones like Cam Air that you take to Afghanistan. So anyway, Mosaic, huge. Yeah. Not that it would have helped me much in this situation. I probably would have just ended up in the same seat you were in, that leg room. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know why I just turned that into bragging about my fucking.
No, are you kidding? We celebrate status achievement in this podcast. I don't know what we celebrate more. Frankly,
it's true.
Achieving airline status it's
huge.
I mean, it's a big thing.
It's big.
If people, by the way, if people ask us what is Oops the podcast, well, the first answer is it's a podcast between two friends, and the audience is the third friend. We love you all. You guys are our third friend, pulling up that bar stool next to us. Join the conversation. We're so glad to have you. But if you had to say, well, go one layer deeper, I'd probably say we're like an airline podcast. Am I wrong? It's probably the thing we talk about the most. No, maybe not. What would you say, Chris?
I don't know. It's up there, but I don't know.
It's a good. I mean, dude, there's just so many. The reason why it's so ripe for good shit is that you're just all up in other people's shit.
Yeah.
And when you're all up in other people's shit, like things happen.
Yeah.
Funny shit happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, that annoyed. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this, but like when I had food poisoning, there was a girl similarly annoying sitting like diagonally from me. She wasn't talking, but she had long ass fingernails, which by the way, like I want to be reincarnated as like a bad bitch with long ass acrylic fingernails. And if you guys are watching this on YouTube, I want to do this move where I just go, and then I have like mad long fingernails. Like, but this girl had that and she was texting and it's just like,
oh my God.
Dude,
I hate that.
The entire flight, I was like, are you serious? This is just adding so much stress to my already terrible condition.
What a nightmare.
Dude, nightmares. Anyway, I feel for you with the annoying companions. On my flight back from Chicago, there was a little kid sitting next to me, and the people to my right knew nothing. It was as if none of these people had ever been on a plane.
Yes.
I wanted to smack the shit out of all of them, dude.
You know, air travel is a learned skill. And I mean a learned adherence to the unwritten rules, right? And some people who are new to air travel or haven't done it much, they just don't know.
They're clappers.
They're clappers.
Or what about they keep getting up to get their shit, and they're doing this thing now where they're like sitting on you, dude. It's so fucking annoying.
You don't know how fat their butts are.
You have no idea. You have no idea. And then also, okay, the people next to me. The kid, I don't know what the fuck he was doing. Like maybe his ears were popping, but he was leaning next to me, holding his headphones like this, leaning to the right. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude?"
Did you have a middle seat?
No.
Oh.
So it was this kid and his dad. All right, and they both brought McDonald's on the flight. I'm like, "You guys are losers, dude." You guys are fucking losers. Then, dude, the beverage cart hadn't even reached our row yet. And they're like, can I have a water? And the lady's like, we're not at your row yet.
Yeah.
I was like, are you seriously that dumb? And then the kid behind me was pressing his legs and I kept pushing my butt back. And I was like, dude, fuck this.
Oh,
Just sitting back here.
man.
I know, it was terrible. Whatever. It's all good.
I go back and look at those pictures of you in that bathroom.
Dude, that was crazy. That was the pits.
Just as a frame of reference for when I think my life is going poorly.
Yeah, that was like one of the worst. That was one of the like non-loss related. That was probably the worst moment of my life.
And I don't disagree. It should be clear in a way.
The worst moment of my life.
Yeah, and what an amazing realization to know that happened a month ago.
I know.
That recently.
A month ago. Yeah. I think literally a month ago today.
36
Something
years
like that.
into your life, the worst moment of your
my
life has just happened.
Not related to death.
That's
Dude, like
great.
every second was like not possible to like tolerate. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Every second was not tolerable.
oh my
I know,
God,
dude. It was
that
so
sounds to me like when I think of true torture
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
And there's no happy place
I
you can
know.
escape to in your mind. There's no meditative breathing. You just are in it and surrounded by fire pain. It's like being on fire
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
can't escape for whatever's going on there. And that
Yeah.
what
for
you
an
just
eternity.
oh man, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. I really
know.
don't. Well, yeah. So
you guys
awesome.
have a nice Sunday? Did you
awesome
order
wedding.
in?
What did we do? We didn't even have appetites. I'm not really. I guess we drove to Whole Foods because we had to go out to New Jersey to pick up Kojai, and then we met at a Whole Foods, got a bunch of just did the hot bar there, got their hot food,
Nice. Solid.
ate a big amount, and then that night, we ate like apples and peanut butter. That's what we had for dinner.
Yeah.
We just didn't have much left in us. But
Nothing
then
left in the
miraculously
tank.
went to bed early and woke up at 6:30 and
You were
was
good?
kind of like back.
Wow.
And I don't even know how my body did that. That I'm normally so bad at readjusting.
Because you went into protector mode. It sobered you up immediately. You had like enough time.
Yeah.
Like how was her Monday?
I don't.
Girls bounce back
I'm
fairly
not-
well.
Also, I'm not seeing her that much.
Yeah. What's that like? I got to ask you
Strange.
about your new routine. So first of all,
Strange.
are you waking up at 6:30 and working out before you come to work? Because now you're here during the day.
No, but I did yesterday work out. I did a boxing class
Wow.
with a boxing
morning.
trainer in the morning.
So to make this clear, I was with Matt Pavich last night. We bumped into Francis on the street, which was also funny. We can talk
Yeah.
about that in a sec. But it was a really good question of him to like ask because in my mind I just assumed you like went to Rumble and like did boxing training with like
Yeah. No.
you went to like a real spot.
I went to $1 Million Baby.
Right.
Dusty,
Right.
boxing gym filled with the ghosts of almost has-beens.
Yeah.
Forgotten dreams and laced up
Totally.
sneakers and newspaper clippings on the wall. It's called Gleason's in Dumbo. It's a very, I guess, hallowed boxing gym.
When Francis said that, Pavich went, "Oh."
Yeah.
Like he had heard
He
of
knew.
it. He knew.
And it's great. You go in, you can just smell the character in the place.
Yeah,
It was
sick.
exactly what I wanted. It wasn't some gleaming automated boxing gym. There were, 3 or 4 very weathered and worn rings set up, bunch of heavy bags that were dented
Sick.
from all the use.
Do you feel sore today?
I feel pretty good. I mean, I had just a 1 hour lesson with this guy that I had read about because
Oh,
I
wow.
called the gym and they were like, "Oh, you want a private lesson? Okay, hang on." And then they just brought this guy over to talk to me. And he was just like, "Yeah, it'll be with me." Even
Sick.
though they have like 20 trainers.
Sick.
And I was like, "All right." So I looked him up and yeah, he's like, was an Olympian or something. I mean, he's,
Sick.
a
dude.
former incredible boxer himself, but who also went to prison and,
Oh, really?
would disappear for like months at a time because he was addicted to crack.
Oh shit.
Um,
How do you know that?
It's articles have been written
Oh, wow.
about him.
he wasn't like mentioning it during. I'm just kidding.
No,
Okay.
we did not get into that.
Okay.
I didn't think I'd earned that level of depth
Yeah.
on our first session. So, we're doing it. It's all footwork and learning how to throw punches and where to keep your weight. It was hard. It's
Crazy.
like ballroom dancing.
So it was more of like a technical lesson than like training.
Yeah,
Or-
I haven't learned anything yet. It's insane how wrong my thoughts were about how to box.
Interesting.
I think, okay, well, I'm a pretty good athlete. I've watched a lot of boxing. Here I am. Let's give it a shot. I mean, it's like learning a completely different skill that has no relation to anything I've done athletically.
Have you been tapped to like do one of the fights here or something?
No.
Would you?
Well, I don't know. The rough and rowdy is what he's referring
it's a
to.
dangerous game.
Yeah, Barstool has this, very cool, awesome kind of 3 or 4 times a year, this sort of backwater boxing thing, and it's 3 1-minute rounds. It's a way for people in places like West Virginia to hash out beefs that they have with a neighbor or something, and it's really entertaining and it's awesome. And you guys should check out the next one. But yeah, I don't know if I would do it. I'm a little nervous about my history of concussions.
Totally.
And sort of putting myself in harm's way in that regard. But I said, you know what, I want to just try this, and if 6 months from now I've been training as a boxer for 3 times a week and I'm loving it, and my guy is like, you're ready. You're ready to beat up somebody who has no idea what they're doing with very limited risk to your brain,
Right.
then
right.
I might
Right,
consider it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
They say, I mean, and not even they say, it's just like obvious when you see boxers. Like boxers are like the most ripped people.
Dude, the people in this gym, it was a joke.
They're fucking shredded.
They're all shirtless. I mean, my God, dude.
Wow.
They look so good. And I asked my trainer or whatever, I was like, should I be, I'm going again tomorrow morning.
Sick.
And I was like, should I be lifting weights? And he was like, no.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, well, what about cardio? He's like, you can do a little cardio, but we're going to get you there just doing this.
Dude, that's sick.
And we boxed for like 45 minutes. Then he took my gloves off. And by the way, you got your gloves on, so
wrap
he's
'em, right?
pouring the water in your mouth when you need water. It's fucking awesome. He wrapped my hands.
All right, champ. Here we
Yeah,
go. 2
yeah.
more rounds.
Um,
That's sick, dude.
no, but then at the end he was like, all right, do 75 crunches. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do 75 crunches. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
With some breaks. I had to take some breaks. And then he's like, all right, give me 10 push-ups. I'm like, okay, I do 10 push-ups. And he goes, give me 10 dips on using the ring as like my back, whatever, base. And then he's like, okay, now give me 9 push-ups. And he goes, you know where this is going, don't you?
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, fuck.
74 crunches, 73 crunches?
No,
Okay.
the crunches were done with 75. But it was 10 push-ups, 10 dips, 9 push-ups, 9 dips, 8
Yeah.
push-ups, 8 dips, which is 55 push-ups and 55
That's a
dips.
lot.
But
Not rocket science, dude. Getting in shape,
no.
you know?
But it's like that's all, according to him, all the like weightlifting we might need. It's just
Yeah,
push-ups
yeah,
and dips and then
yeah.
throwing punches for an
Yeah.
hour. So yeah, man.
It's interesting to encounter people like that who can kind of simplify things like that. Like I remember we played with this tennis guy, this tennis coach named Tomas. And my dad one time asked him, he's like, how are the kids doing? And he goes, they all suck. And he's like, what do you mean? He goes, they try to teach strategy, this and that. He goes, you can hit 200 backhand cross court in a row. Don't even talk to me. And I'm like, that's interesting, dude.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
To break it down that simply.
Yeah.
I'm like thinking about like where I'm going to hit it and shit. I'm just this fucking out of shape. Like I have no, you know what I mean? It was just so funny to
Yeah.
hear it like that.
Yeah.
But that's sick, dude. That's really fun.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where that goes.
It's also nice when you like, if you are working and you're trying to get workouts in, it's nice to have like a session booked because like
it forces you.
it also makes you like adhere to the time.
Yeah.
Like you can't dilly dally at all.
Right.
And there's no like panic of like, okay, like I need to finish because you know exactly how long it's going to take.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, which
Agreed.
is really nice.
Yeah. So yeah. That's sort of my life over the last week. I'm not sure if I have anything else to report.
All right. So we bumped into Francis last night and I'm with Pavich and this girl Flora, who's a comedian. And Francis thought that it was Pavich's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Extremely makeable mistake. Like, I don't think you've ever met her in person.
Haven't.
And when you walked away, because you're like, oh, congrats, which was so nice of you to even know that Pavich's girlfriend, Katie, had been on the blacklist recently. And he's like, congrats. And he's like, oh, this isn't Katie.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, whatever. And you walked away and we all were like, very makeable mistake. Very, very makeable mistake. Like nobody, like I thought you would like that. Like I didn't think you felt bad about it because like whatever, but like I thought you'd appreciate that we all were like totally makeable mistake.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
That is good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, it was the way he introduced her to me.
Oh, this is Flora.
She's a comedian, right?
Yeah.
So it's reasonable for him to assume that I know who she is.
Which is what I did.
Right.
Because I've done that to you before where I'll introduce somebody to you that you know already and I just feel stupid. So I was like, all right, I'm not introducing
Right.
her.
It's reasonable to assume that I would know who she is. But he was instantly, within 2 seconds of me seeing you guys, he goes, this is so, what's her name?
Flora.
He goes, this is Flora, which he would do if it were his girlfriend.
100%. 100%.
And as a result of the sort of pure politeness with which he introduced the woman he was standing next to,
Mm-hmm.
I instantly assumed that must be his girlfriend.
Right. Completely fair. Completely fair.
And so
it was a setup. Dude.
I congratulated her on this casting she'd received, which I only knew about from his Instagram. And sure enough, the girl was like, no, I'm not his girlfriend.
Let's do an email here.
Oh, let's do an email.
Bring her home. Guys, feel free to email us with your questions, your stories, whatever. If it's something you think we'd be interested in, we'll reply regardless of whether or not we read it on the air. At oopsthepodcast@gmail.com. Also, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. It's out there. Oops the Podcast. Get in there. If you like watching shit on YouTube, another way to have some oops in your life. Okay, here we go. Need advice. Love it. Always need a little need advice.
Yeah.
Hello. I'm in need of advice from people in successful relationships. Thank you. While traveling this summer, I met a guy from the country I was visiting. We had a whirlwind romance over 3 weeks' time, although we didn't actually spend 3 weeks together. I met him and then orchestrated seeing him again. And when I did, we were together for a week. In the end, the fling did fizzle a bit, and we aren't talking anymore, but I haven't stopped thinking about him since I left. I already find it difficult enough opening up to people, but on top of that, I am also going through a particularly difficult time with my family right now, which doesn't help. I always knew I had to leave because I have a finite time to travel. Travel before starting my job, and the guy lives in an isolated area without much to do. So I would essentially just be existing as his girlfriend if I stayed with him. The reason things fizzled is that since I knew I had to leave, I started to close off. I also felt overwhelmed as I like to take things slow, so I sort of shut down. My question is, what should I do? Should I forget about the fling and leave it in the past? Should I make an effort to see him again in a few months and see how things go? If I did go back, I would have to be working remotely, which would make me feel a lot better personally and allow me to pursue the relationship for real. Am I stupid for thinking this can work if it didn't the first time? I've talked to my girlfriends about this. I'd like to hear a male perspective on this sort of situation.
All right, I got it. I think she needs to sort of soft invite him to see her. She needs to get him to come to her.
Interesting.
Because, this is courtship.
Yeah.
And whether we like it or not, it's still based on, thousands of years of mating ritual.
Mm-hmm.
The male's job to make the major overture, make the effort. And basically that to me means that he needs to travel to her. Because if she goes to him, she's in his world. She doesn't know anybody there. As she said, she'd just be his girlfriend. I think she needs to, be a little bit careful with her heart until she senses that this actually is more than a isolated traveling romance.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very easy to glorify loves that you foment while you're traveling, exotic foreigners, relationships.
It's not a realistic schedule.
We had the most
just,
magical week in the Maldives. It's like, well, so did everybody who's ever been there.
Mm-hmm.
It just shines a totally different light on it. You remember it more fondly. And then if you have to meet again in the real world and one of you has a busy work schedule and all of a sudden it's like that, the other person who's come to visit is just hanging out in their apartment all day until they come home. You kind of, that's where things can fizzle.
Yeah, agreed. And she mentions in the end here too, she asked if we have any situations like this that we, remember and how we handled it. And I can think of a couple where like I had some like really fun night with somebody or something and then they were gone. And whether or not you're texting with them or not, you begin to kind of romanticize them and the vision of you two together, whatever. And like, you just need a little bit more FaceTime before you can really lock in like that.
Right.
So yeah, like if he won't come to you and you're like dying to see him again or whatever, and you end up having to go over there and maybe who knows where he's from. Maybe he can't come without a visa or something. Don't go just for that. Try to make it a trip for something else. Go give yourself some closure because you should be also trying to get it done where you are.
I don't know that I agree. I really think he needs to go to her. I think she opens herself up to a shitty situation if she goes to
over
him.
there again.
Because as somebody who, has met people and thought, wow, if only we'd had some time together, and then stayed in touch with those people and then, invited them to come visit me for a couple of days, almost always by like day or 2 or 3 of them coming over, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I need this person out of my home.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel so cramped. The walls are closing in. And the reason is because they were just a guest of you.
Okay. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was curious if there was follow-up information. There was. We do have a follow-up email.
Okay. Good.
So she said, sorry, continue your thought. What you were saying.
It's just like they are completely reliant on you to show them around, to feed them.
They're like you become your dog.
And then you don't see them as this like sexy out of reach thing.
Right.
That could be.
You just turn into a dependent.
It's just like there's a person waiting for me in my home and I want my space back.
Yeah, totally, dude. Okay. So number 1, the country the guy lives in is not a country with a simple visa process for the US. And he has no real reason for coming to the US. So he basically cannot come here. And I would have to go to him. So that unfortunately.
Wow.
Okay.
So much for that.
Yeah. But to your point, maybe they could meet somewhere where they can both go.
Well, there you go.
That's a good compromise.
They should go visit some other place.
They should
together.
go on a trip together.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's probably all the update we need. This other stuff's just kind of. Yeah. Well, good luck. That's a bummer. But don't get too caught up on him because the reality of what's in front of you and this idea of this relationship are not the same. They can't compete with each other.
No. Exactly. Do you know this? Have I told you the story of my parents' origin?
No.
So this flies in the face of. Do you want me to save it?
Maybe. Should we save it for the next one?
It does suit.
Do we have time?
This moment.
It does. Okay.
I think you did tell this story, but I don't know if you told me.
I'll tell it quickly.
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
They met. They met at a Christmas party that their parents were at, and they were both in their 30s. And in New Jersey, my mom was working in London.
Sick.
As a bond trader at JP Morgan, and
$1.50 and a half.
My dad was living in New York but working in New Jersey. He was reverse commuting, and they met at a Christmas party when my mom was home for Christmas that I think her parents were throwing, but my dad's parents were going, and then told my dad to come because both sets of parents knew each other and wanted to introduce the kids.
Oh, interesting.
They met at the Christmas party. They struck up a nice conversation. They went on one date in New York City, and then my mom went back to London. And my dad said, "Can I come see you next weekend?"
Oh, wow.
And she was like, "Okay, sure." And he was like, "All right, when?" And she was like, "I don't know, for the weekend or whatever." And he bought a flight, took the red eye on Thursday, arrived Friday morning early, got my mom's keys as she was leaving the apartment to go to her work. He slept for, half the day on Friday, and then they met up after work, and,
What do you mean the keys?
like she handed him the keys to her apartment as she was walking out.
To let him
go in and sleep.
Oh, that's nice.
And then they spent the weekend together, gallivanted around London On Sunday, he flew home. He did that for the next 5 weekends.
Oh my God.
And on the 6th weekend,
Legend.
he proposed.
What?
And they've been married like 36
What?
years.
You've not told that story.
That's
Unbelievable.
He proposed 6 weeks after meeting her.
Oh my God.
How crazy is that?
That is legendary.
Yeah.
Dude, I knew
And he
it.
traveled
That
to
does not
London
surprise me.
every single weekend.
Dude, your dad shoots from the hip, dude.
Yeah.
That guy's the man.
That was pretty.
That's sick.
It's a story that is so romantic and wonderful, and yet also, I think, is the exception rather than the norm.
Absolutely.
You know, this like it doesn't work out very often
Oh my
that
God.
way.
That's so sweet, dude.
Yeah.
What an
So,
amazing story.
pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, that is Oops the Podcast. We're having a blast. As always, send your emails to oopsthepodcast@gmail.com. Facts with Ryan is a segment we love. Facts with Ryan. Facts with Ryan. Were they lying? Dad was flying. Facts with Ryan.
That was good. Okay, so you can purchase plastic pilot wings with a junior flight crew member banner for $1.14 on a website. But if you purchase 10,000 in bulk, you actually get a better deal. You can get them for only 83 cents. So just think about that.
Wholesale,
Okay.
baby.
Fun fact about Palm Springs, it's the date capital of the U.S. The Indian,
The fruit.
The Indian Wells Resort has a 450-foot lazy river and a splash pad for kids.
Fun.
It's
Saw
fun.
that.
Fun.
That
Was that where you were?
Yeah, but we didn't do it.
tempting.
Didn't do the lazy river.
Drunk is 384 pages.
Mm-hmm.
There are 449 Chipotles in the state of California, making up
Jesus.
15% of all U.S. locations.
Jesus.
And then
Christ.
you mentioned torture, so I had to look up a
Yeah,
new
of
one.
course.
Impalement. It's a method of torture and execution that is when the human is penetrated by an object such as a stake, pole, spear, or hook, often by the complete or partial perforation of the torso.
Ah, God.
You're really into torture, huh, Ryan? You love bringing it
This
up.
is a nice
whenever-
No,
little thing.
it got brought up. Needs to be said.
Ryan feels the need to teach a new torture method
I love it.
anytime we
Legend.
bring it up. Julio, where can we find you performing live comedy?
I'm at the Evening Muse. I think, is it Thursday? Let me just look real quick. I believe it's Thursday, the 20th, in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yes, that's correct. I think there's a
Nice.
couple tickets left to that. You should definitely come. Look forward to seeing you down there. And also, I need some Charlotte recommendations. Last time I was there, I wasn't able to sniff out a good time, and I would love for some recommendations there. And then also in Ann Arbor at the Blind Pig, November 12th. And I should have some more dates coming up for next year and the end of the year as well.
Where can they get tickets?
Sorry, my website, notjulio.com. Get in there.
Cool. I'll have dates coming up soon, probably in the new year. Much love to you all, and we'll see you soon.